Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We will call the meeting to order at 1 o'clock. So, Ms. Bourbois, will you go ahead and start with roll call, please?
Jeffrey Anthony.
Present.
Catherine Arvisu.
Present.
Don Bell. Cindy Coleman.
Present.
Luis Gonzalez.
Present.
Red Morrow.
Present.
Raghu Nandan.
Present.
Peter Nordquist.
Present.
Tiffany Rogers.
So
Present.
that's why they're all online.
Delia Sotelo.
Present.
Sophia Blue. Erica Miranda Carter.
Present.
What's that? I can't see.
Okay, just a reminder to please speak into your microphones. The meeting is being recorded, and we do have Ms. Coleman, Mr. Gonzalez, and Ms. Ekstrom on Zoom. At 2.03, agenda adjustments. I don't have any adjustments. No other adjustment? So, motion to accept agenda as presented?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Okay, moving on to call to the audience. Do we have any call to the audience, Ms. Barbar?
We didn't receive any.
No? Okay, moving on to action items. Actually, no. 4.01, approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review last meeting's minutes? Yes. So I motion to approve those minutes.
I second.
Second by Mr. Jeffrey. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Right, moving on to information item. Dr. C, 5.01, bond project updates for quarter 1 and quarter 2.
I wanted to come with my pom-poms. I couldn't find them. So we're going to settle with this. And so you might be wondering, what are we celebrating? Well, guess what? Q1 and Q2 projects, I am happy to announce, are 100% complete a day ahead of schedule. We're gonna talk and do our agenda with the grounding, our project 1 and 2 status, our bond communication, and our key dates. And of course, we are creating a joyful and safe place for student success. We're gonna go by the normal grounding rules that we always talk about, how we're gonna be partners and advocates, and how we're gonna prioritize data requests and evaluate how it impacts votes and community, how we're gonna hold questions to the end. Now, we are, in a few minutes, gonna have quite a few presentations because I listened and I heard that you wanted more time. So after each one of those presentations, after me, then you can have a place for questions. So that'll be a little bit different. And let's adhere to our Oversight Committee charter, scope and roles and responsibility, and we, TUSD, and you are committed to transparency, accountability, collaboration, excellence, customer service, and trusting relationships. Bond projects, quarter 1 status. You guys don't know how happy I am. I was telling Ricky, I'm so happy right now. I'm just so happy right now. It's because, first of all, what we are doing together is amazing. The progress that we've made in the last 4 to 5 months is utterly amazing. I don't know if you guys really realize, particularly when you have construction type projects, they often don't come in on time. And I just want to, before I go into this, acknowledge anybody, so that's really all of us, that has participated in any way for these Q1 projects. I want you to stand. I want you to stand if you have participated in any way in these projects Diana and Ben. You guys don't want me to. And the Bond Oversight Committee, please stand. Because you participated and helped. Let's give ourselves a hand. Like they do the choir. We all. All right. So basically, what I'm saying here is that we've completed these projects. We did the defibrillators, where we have 77 AEDs, 3 spares, in 74 schools. We completed 14 HVAC package units. I didn't think we was gonna make it for a minute, Damon. When I did the community town hall, we had 2 complete. 2, that was 2 weeks ago. And I want to say this staff has done so much to push the work and to work with the various contractors to make sure that it's not only installed, but that we have the historical data, to have the manuals, to have everything to help us to be able to support these air conditions and everything that we're doing. Because project management passes off to operations. Isn't that right, Blaine? And if we don't do our job right, Blaine, I love Blaine, he's COO. So if we don't do our job well, then they don't get a head start in being able to service these things after we complete them. So it's super important to have that. Marquees, all of them are done. I visited, I don't know if I want to say the word. I remember the first time I tried lend your keys. I'm better. Progress is promised. They didn't have really anything. And I remember talking to the principal, and she was well, until I have a marquee, it doesn't matter the other projects. She wanted it so bad, and we were able to deliver that. And educational technology, we had 12 schools with laptops. We had active panels at the various schools listed. All of the technology was delivered to hands of students and to teachers. Rincon, and I mean, I had to verify. You know, that was one of the ones where I came and said, hey, everybody, we really need to reprioritize this based off of, you know, the conditions and what's happening. And you guys had faith in us. And so technically, even though that's not a Q1 project, we finished it in Q1. And working, and with the schools, that was something else we heard, Catherine, how we really need to make sure that the schools are involved as we're executing these various projects so they know how to work around schedules and programs and students. And so one of the reasons, because we could have finished this one earlier, but we elected not to do that because of the smells and all that with the welding and grinding. I don't know all the technical terms as like Damon does, but we had students in mind. And because we had students in mind, then we took a step back and said, okay, we can adjust our schedule to make sure that this is done with quality and that there's minimal interruption to the classroom. And then, of course, the bus leave payoff. So you may be wondering what's going on with the Q2 statuses. And in a nutshell, we're in progress. We kicked off. So guess what? We aren't going to wait until Q1 is over to start Q2. What we're doing is what we call a rolling schedule. So we always want to be a step or 2 ahead. So right now, we're in the process of, and there is one project, though, that I know of that already, and I saw social media myself as well, Sam Hughes Fencing. So Q2 project, they're already working. That is awesome, everybody. I'm telling you, progress as promised. Your bond dollars at work. Progress is promised. I was so excited. Okay, So basically, these are the things that you yourselves approve, and these are the statuses for quarter 2. So now, it's best for me not to talk, but for you to watch a video. Video, please.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Machado. I'm the health assistant here at Hollinger K-8. I would like to thank the Bonds program and the community for getting us our AED here at school. You always hope that you're never going to have to use it, but the one time that you do, it could mean a difference between life and death. I would like to thank the community and the Bonds program for allowing us to have the AED.
All right. And now we have another. If it will let me move to the next slide. I think you guys might have to help me with the next slide.
Hi, my name is
All right, now we have Tully Elementary Magna Marquis.
Hello, my name's Glenda Rodriguez. I'm office manager here at Tully Elementary School for 38 years and very excited for getting this new marquee. Got it through the bond money and we're very excited. Parents love it because they get the news, they get to see it. Children love it too. Thank you for the bond, for voting for this new wonderful bond that we were able to get this marquee for our school. We deeply needed it in this community. Hello, my name's Glenn.
Next slide.
Hi, I'm Bill Rosenberg. I'm the principal at Banks Elementary School. I wanted to thank all the voters in Tucson that approved the bond. We were able to get new Promethean boards with that, and we really needed them, and we're looking forward to the other improvements we're going to have with the school. The technology with the Promethean boards is really important for the education of the students. It's really, really neat, all the things that these new Promethean boards can do. So I really wanted to thank you for voting, for the bond so that we could get the new ones. Really appreciate it.
I like the Promethean boards because they help us advance our technology awareness and our learning capabilities.
I like the Promethean boards because they're easier for kids to see what's on the boards.
Thank you for the Promethean boards.
Thank you for the Promethean boards.
All right. Next slide. We have our own Damon.
Hi, my name is Damon Ballesteros, and I'm the program manager for the project management department at Tucson Unified School District. On behalf of all of us at TUSD, students, staff, and governing board, we express our sincere appreciation to you, the voters, for the successful passage of our school improvement bond. These bond dollars will allow TUSD to make the critical improvements necessary to ensure that our schools continue to provide safe, cool, and modern learning environments for our students. Work has begun, and our commitment to excellence and transparency to you, the voters, is paramount. Progress as promised, your bond dollars at work. Thank you very much.
Okay, on the next slide, we're not going to play the video, but if we could just go to the next slide. For those that did not have the opportunity to go to the virtual town hall, which was really a great kickoff, you can watch it. I did insert this into the slide, but you can actually go to the bond website, and right up at the top on the menu, it has last virtual town hall. So it was really good. So thank those, there were a few of you that did attend, and thank you for that. Next slide. Charlotte Carps. All right, and maybe it'll let me do this. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys, because we really do have this campaign, and it is out there. I don't have any of you guys seen any of the banners? Raise your hand if you've seen the banners. Awesome. Then it's starting to work. We have put out, just my team, we've put out 25. The vendors, we have at least five banners with vendors. Foresco and didn't Pueblo, yeah, they've done, and we're going to continue to do that. And so here's some principals that are with the banner and their staff. Then here is also with Hollinger principal, and I forgot his name.
Luke Banshee.
Yes. Yeah, that's when my car stopped that day. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. It was a battery problem. Hey, they told me here in Arizona it's bad on batteries. I mean, really bad. And I'm telling you, I've never had problem. I mean, I don't have a junk car either. But I was like, nah. Okay, anyway, next. This is our team. We had an opportunity to visit. And so one of the things we used to do in Tulsa is 2 weeks before the due date, we would always go, the management team, and visit some of the locations that still had projects lingering. And so this is what we did on the left. And then, of course, you have Erica, your own, styling and profiling at her school that she loves, Borton. I'm getting better. You know, I need some type of dictionary to help me with all the schools. And so anyway, so key dates is October 29th. We will be presenting at the governing board the bond annual report at Duffy here at 5:30. So that is your Q1 and Q2 updates. Thank you. Next, I'm going to do the Q3 and Q4, and I want to kind of give you a little bit of intent. So my intent is that you, being the Bond Oversight Committee, have more time to think about, research, and look at projects with us. I'm still will be recommending, but we still want your engagement and your collaboration and your help. So as I thought about, you know how time can really get away from you every now and then? It's like, oh, I need to have this done. And so start thinking about, we already, Q1 is in the bag. We did great. We just started though. We did great. Q2, we've just started with the surface, but I need to be thinking about, and we need to be thinking about 3 and 4. So that'll get us to a whole year. And based on what our priorities are, what's our priorities? Anybody know? Don't be shy. Catherine, you know the priorities.
Safety and security.
That's one. Who else knows one? I don't.
HVAC.
HVAC.
Technology in there. Well,
Instruction and improvements to the classroom. And so with that in mind, that's how, and our criteria, we still have that 5 or 6 criteria that we talked about, FCI, work orders, we had the survey, those things as well. Start coming and developing what proposed. This is not saying this is what the projects are. This is saying what I'm proposing, or we are proposing as a team. And I have gone over this particular list with our team at least 2 or 3 times, like as a collective. So you might be wondering, when I say bond Q3, what is that time frame? Now, this is the way I'm looking at it, because we are dealing with contractors and those type things, so they may not have the same quarters as what a school system has. So because of that, I made it a little different. So I'm saying January 2nd through March 31st, 2025 is Q3. Got it? So we've just finished Q1, that ended October 11th. Then immediately October 12th, started Q2. And that's going to go to December 31st. And I am counting December 31st because there will be those that will be doing projects at the last minute. And one of the contractors sent me an email and they said, well, we're wanting to do training on blah, blah, blah. It was outside of the date. I was like, sorry, the dates for TUSD are make adjustments. We've all known that. So, and that way, we're doing these little smaller spurts, which gives you more potential to have successful projects. So that's why we're doing it. Originally, I wasn't going to do it, but if it's working, let's not change it. Then Q4 is going to be April 1st all the way to June 30. So that will kind of align with our fiscal, although bond dollars don't, that doesn't really matter for that. But it'll be a good way for us to sit back in June, well, really July, to be able to do lessons learned, to know like what have we learned during the process, what changes, what adjustments need to be made. So these are the proposed projects. So as you remember, those that brought their bond book, I know I did color bond books for everybody. If you didn't get one, let me know. If you didn't, only get one. Only get one. Okay. That sounds bad, but it's true because we're watching our dollars. And that was not paid by bond dollars of the 480 million. That was not. So just let you know. Okay. So, of course, HVAC package units and the controls. If there are any projects from HVAC projects from Q2 that may have where the controls doesn't fix the cooling issue, we will address that or some of those in Q3. So this is just a placeholder if we need it. HVAC kitchens, we have selected, I made sure, Blaine, that it had your Davis on there. I was just looking, I was like, just Davis on there. Robinson, Davis, Robbins, and Blendman. And these are kitchens that we had, or not kitchens, but HVAC that we had done in Q1. It's not all of them, but the design work of a kitchen is very intricate and extensive, so we can't do all of them at the same time. There's also considerations that you need to have as far as how are you going to cook food while you're designing and starting demolition and all that kind of stuff. So it's very complex. We've been working with Lindsay, the child nutrition director, food services. I'm getting my different districts mixed up. She does food, and she's the director. But talking to her about those type plans and what would that look like. So this is the priority and order that she would like to see. Then marquees is kind of a question mark, but I really would like on some of the schools that have no marquees to see if we have monies to address those. That's repairs, upgrades. Then under health, security, and safety, which we already know, especially in the world we live today, this is a priority for the district. So you will see on 2 of these presentations today, security fencing and gates, security window film, and we do have a visitor here, which you'll hear from them as well, and then health office upgrades. More than likely, the health office upgrades, we may, if we do go with this project, because I've talked to the director, and that's the other advantage now, I know who is responsible for what. So I can engage with conversations and get really needs assessment. That's a lovely thing. It's called collective requirements. So that has helped a lot. But that will probably not actually start until July, but we need to have the money in Q4 so we can purchase, because everybody knows it is an issue with supply chain. Just letting you know. And we don't know what the world's going to look like in several months. We have improvements to the classroom and learning spaces. So we do have a presentation today, check, with the CTE program. Hey, and I got to tell you, I went and visited Tucson. That was Tucson High, right? Their automotive. I have a lot of nice pictures. That was before I turned, after I turned this in, but awesome program. So that's one of the areas that we would like to actually do projects in Q3 and 4. We have Camp Cooper. I have been working with, I've actually talked to him like when I first got here, but there's cabin upgrades, and then there's a contingency of fire hydrants, which that's more of a code thing that we need to address. But that's an outstanding area too if you've never been. It's beautiful, and I understand that's a partnership too with the U of A. I always wonder, why do we call it U of A? Why don't we just say, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But replace portables with permanent structures. This is just suggestions. I have not fully engaged with the schools yet. These are just, we know these are schools that need more capacity. And this is something that we would like to do. And then we have not decided or really determined the fine arts project, but we've been working with Dr. Ashcroft on, what her needs are and, some of the projects that she may want. And then we're still working with technology to determine what that would be for this third and fourth quarter. And then transportation, we have safety vehicles, which that falls right into what we talked about, the safety. If they can't get to the incidents, that's a problem. So you will have a presentation on that today. So my mantra, progress as promised. I want to hear you say it.
Your bond dollars at work.
Okay. If this was a choir, we aren't doing that well. And I'm a singer, so we're going to do a little bit better. So maybe we got to do the cadence. So let's sing. You don't have to sing. That's me talking about. Progress is prime. So let's start at the beginning. Progress is prime. Progress as promised. Your bond dollars at work. Again. Progress as promised. Your bond dollars at work. Thank you.
Good rhythm. Very good rhythm.
I told you I am a singer and a dancer, so anyway. If you have questions, let me know. The idea of this is to get it before you. And then bring the presentations where you start understanding it in a more detailed way. If you don't, I would love, now unless you have a burning question, I would love for you to see the presentation. Yes, sir.
So, yeah.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, yeah.
Yes.
So Camp Cooper, I help support them because I work at the University of Arizona, and it's a collaboration with the College of Education, and they do all the pedagogy and the teaching and stuff. I know they just got a grant to upgrade some of their cabins. What type of upgrades are these? And that's my first question. Mm-hmm. The second one is the fine arts, because fine arts is a very broad term. What exactly are the fine arts upgrades or purchases and stuff?
The ones that we're looking at?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. So at Camp Cooper, the improvements to the cabins are going to be specific to the overnight stays. The roofs are going to get taken off because they're not insulated. Mm-hmm. Walls are going to get insulated. Mini splits are going to get put in. Permanent bunks are going to get put in. And really, it's a collaboration of providing more energy efficient space so that the students, when they stay, can stay a little bit longer. Right. And it goes hand in hand with the current construction that's taking place right now. Mm-hmm. With the showers, composting toilets, and the outdoor solar classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Those Camp Cooper kids are getting HVAC units?
They're going to get
This
units.
is not camping.
Right?
What is happening?
Okay, I gotta. I said the same thing, but all that is also, it is in the bond.
I know, it's fine.
I will say to that though, as a parent that went camping in April,
It's horrible.
they need HVACs.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
we
know.
had kids
I've been
laying
there.
on the concrete.
Yeah.
I went 3 times also.
Yeah.
And there's
in
no
April.
ventilation, you're just locked in there
Yes.
in this concrete room. So yes, I'm happy to hear they'll be able to go
And-
out there later in the season.
Yes. And in regards to the fine arts projects, so fine arts, what we're looking at is there's a broad range of things. Audio, video, that's necessary at some sites. We're looking at stage equipment, rigging, stage floors, curtains that need to be brought up to standards. So there's a broad spectrum of projects that when we meet with Dr. Ashcraft again, she's going to really provide that direction to us on those items that are most need based on, again, as we talked about, the criterias that we first set, FCI scores, safety and security, and those items that most need at each site.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just have one quick question too. Maybe you can answer this before you sit down. My question was about the health office upgrades.
Yeah.
Those 4 schools, what does that entail and what schools would those be?
So again, in speaking with Dr. Gaw, who's the health safety director, so we're looking at on those is really flooring, paint specific to a health office, cabinets, countertops, and making sure that they have the proper locking mechanisms in their cabinetry to provide any type of medicines that need to be stored. And the restrooms, some have, some don't. Those that do have, they're gonna get upgraded, with, again, tile. Some don't have ADA compliant toilet seats at heights. So all that will get addressed, and then if they don't, then they'll get a new restroom.
Okay, thank you.
And he is, Dr. Gall, I talked to him about this. He's trying to develop the standard to have across all of them. And so he's doing assessments and all that. And of course, we're limited with the funding, but we are trying to, head that way so people know. And we are doing those type of safety type things that we
And
said in health.
And like a contingency plan if you're having to relocate the health office for an extended period of time, if it's going to be unusable. Like, I just want to make sure that the sites have an alternate space to be able to move their health offices into if they're doing construction or.
And that's exactly goes to the point what Dr. Carter said.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in Q4, which is work over the summer.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
But good question, and that's one of the things that I'm making sure in any of these projects, while you're doing the work, how does the work continue? And so that's just part of, our planning, especially when you're doing good project management planning. Okay, so let's see, we're checking on time. Did anybody have anything else? Okay, so now you're going to start getting the details about some of the projects that we are proposing for Q3 and 4. I'm sorry?
Item 6.01, review and approve to recommend to the governing board the cooperative contract and proposal of the installation of window security film at TUSD school.
I don't think they can hear you.
Yeah.
I was just reading the item. I'll read the item again. 6.01, review and approve to recommend to the governing board the cooperative contract and proposal for the installation of window security film at TUSD school campuses.
Yes, ma'am. So we will, I get to introduce them. So we have our own.
Special guest.
Joe Hollow. Oh, did I say it right? I did. Oh, I'm doing so good today. It must be my new purple dress. The director of safety that's going to do this, and I think he may have also the vendor to assist.
There we go. Well, good afternoon, committee members. It's an honor to finally get up here and have an opportunity to speak with you. I'm hopeful that as we go forward, you'll be seeing me more and more because, as Dr. Carter said, I'm the Director of Safety and Security for Tucson Unified School District and been in place for around 3 years now. But we're really excited about the fact that this bond was passed. We see a lot of changes that we want to implement across the district to improve the safety and security of our students and staff who utilize our facilities every day. As she mentioned earlier, times have changed, right? The average age of our buildings are well over 60 years old, and when they were initially constructed, they were not meant to be hardened targets. They were meant to be warm, welcoming to the entire neighborhood for people to come in and share the experience. Unfortunately, things have changed. The culture has changed. There's been a shift. There's been an increase in threats, and we need to adjust accordingly. So through this bond, we're going to be able to really implement some things to really ensure the safety of our children while they're in our classes and our staff, so they can provide a quality education to everybody. And that is our motivation every day when we come to work in school safety. How do we keep kids safe? And of course, associated with that is the staff that provides them with that education. So with that, as soon as we got in place, we started doing assessments across the district. These assessments, we received initial training, and I just kind of want to go into a little bit of background to how we got to some of these things that we're going to be recommending. But as part of these assessments, we went through some training, and that training was actually members of the Tucson Police Department and members of our Fusion Center up in Phoenix. Now, a Fusion Center is kind of a collaboration of Department of Homeland Security, and various federal agencies associated with that, as well as the Department of Public Safety and multiple police departments across the state. They do threat vulnerability or site assessments, and that's what they do for all critical infrastructures, schools being one of those. So we had the opportunity to engage with them and receive training from all of our day shift staff. We wanted consistency in how we're assessing our schools, and we wanted consistency in how we're implementing our safety infrastructure going forward. So with that, we kind of established, what are our priorities going forward. Some of that I'm going to be sharing with you today, and we'll be seeing in the future, we'll be seeing more and more of that when it comes to technology, cameras, access control, or something. Everything we do is a layered approach, right? We want to start from the outside, working our way in to make sure that there's multiple layers of the security, as the threat progresses towards our schools. And the overall, especially when we're talking today, we're going to be talking about fencing, we're going to talk about security film. The goal is the precious gift of time, right? We in school safety, we have some amazing individuals, some amazing resources, but during the day, there's really about 10 or 11 of those individuals out there for about 250 square miles in 87 or 88 schools. Clearly, we can't be everywhere at once. Tucson Police Department and the Pima County Sheriff's Department they're fantastic partners. And we've developed a really close working relationship with them. Unfortunately, they're also understaffed. So it's incumbent on us to provide our students and staff with as much time as possible to ensure that those resources can get there and address anything that may be coming to them. Plus, it just provides that peace of mind, right? If you're worried about your safety or security, you're not going to be able to focus on the task at hand, i.e. learning. So that is our motivation, and you'll see that repeated as I provide you with these presentations. First, we're going to get into security film. So kind of we'll go through the background, the need. The school is impacted. That'll be many of our schools, and I can talk to you as to the why, and then with the action. With me today, I have two representatives and I'll let them introduce themselves real quick, from Safe Haven Defense. They're a local company, or actually up in the Phoenix area, and they're the ones who are going to be providing them. So if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Well, committee, thank you for having us here. My name is Bo Robbins with Safe Haven Defense. A little about my background in terms of the security, which we're obviously talking about today. Prior U.S. Coast Guard, served my country there, and then moved into law enforcement and just retired from there. But with that, I did 14 years in the SWAT team, so I have a pretty good understanding of overall safety, security, active shooter type of situations, and really what has brought me into this product and why I am fully behind what I represent here today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kyle Gordon. I'm a project coordinator with Safe Haven Defense. What I do is I schedule the installations and then work through the process of getting the film and the caulking installed in the schools. I've received some threat assessment training from law enforcement. I've been with the company about 18 months. Thank you.
So really, these are going to be the subject matter experts on the actual film that we'll be installing. So if you have specific questions as to the why, right? Why are we going with this film? These individuals will be able to provide that, and even more detail as to actually how it's installed. Because this is not the regular film that you see, you tint your windows with on your vehicle. This is something pretty significant, pretty special, and we have a little bit of a video to kind of show you or demonstrate what it's going to look like. So again, I've kind of already gone through the background, but again, creating a safe and inclusive schools across to being equitable across our district, about all of our campuses to ensure safety and security of all of our students and staff. And again, this is a layered approach, all the way from out to the fencing, includes the window film, which is another perimeter security option for us. Going in, we're going to have access control cameras and stuff that we'll get into. Plus, we have other procedures that we've implemented outside of the physical aspects of things. Our student threat assessment systems, more engagement with our public health professionals to really provide every individual with the need, what they need to ensure a successful life, and again, kind of get them on the right track going forward. So why do we need this, right? So we provide, again, it's that layered approach, right? We provide that security fencing that we'll be talking about in a minute. That's the first layer on the outside. As somebody approaches our campuses, or they get up to the actual front door, this is where we're going to really be implementing this product. We still want people to be able to come to our front door, but at that point, we usually have some kind of security check to ensure that we know who's coming inside. What we don't want is those unwanted individuals from going and accessing it. On the picture here on the screen, you can see a shot from one of the most recent unfortunate situations we had at one of our schools. That was in Nashville, Tennessee, where the individual actually shot their way through the glass, which compromised the glass and allowed them access. Another very infamous and unfortunate situation was Sandy Hook, a very similar approach in how that individual was able to access the school. This is what we're trying to prevent. Again, the intent of this is to slow the progress of that individual, buying that gift of time. Nothing is foolproof. What I often hear is, well, why do we need better fencing? Somebody can shoot through it. Absolutely, right? And that's why we do that layered approach going forward. That's going to keep somebody from and slow them down from accessing our exterior walls. This is going to help slow them down so they can't actually get inside the building where the kids are. The riot resistance film that we're going to be doing, I'm actually going to turn over to Bo just real quick, and then I'll come back. But I want him to kind of talk through exactly what this product is going to do for us.
Again, thank you. So riot resistant, this is our proprietary product, SW600RC. It's a 35 millithousandths of an inch laminate that goes on. It is not your typical laminate. There's typically 2 companies in the U.S. that provide laminates which can be commercially sold. This product is actually exclusive to our company. Quickly, a little bit about the background is why we are here today and doing this product is that a former brother of mine, Steve Johnson, from the SWAT team, was a breacher and VCRU, Vehicular Accident Reconstruction Unit. So he was able to look at take these 2 disciplines, and his wife being a school administrator after Parkland had saw the necessary and the need for glass to be reinforced. And so he actually took on a lot of these products that were commercially available and tested them and realized that they really were not a security product. It was marketed as shatter resistant prior to Parkland, and all of a sudden there was a big push toward these are security type of films. And so he went to the drawing board to create an actual proprietary product that had the tensile strength, the actual resistance necessary to create that reactionary gap to where if a situation happens, law enforcement is able to make it on scene and arrive. So our product, which is a laminate, again, is applied to pre-existing glass. You'll see that with the 1/4 inch, that is basically all of our testings are based off of 1/4 inch. The reason due to that is with Tucson Unified School District currently being a lot of the older construction, 1/8 inch glass is very, very thin, right? Pliable. Our product takes a lot of force to apply because it's going to go on the interior layer. So if we were standing here, our product goes on the internal side, this being the protected side. So when they're pushing it onto their 1/4 inch, that's kind of where we get our standards for our time frames because the glass is accepting to it. It can be annealed glass. It doesn't even have to be tempered. We do all of our testings on annealed glass because it is the weakest glass. And so once our product is applied, it is instantly, it's ready to go. It's a wet application. It'll actually dry over the course of up to a year while still maintaining its full clarity. We actually also provide a secondary layer on the exterior portion of it, which is a graffiti layer. That's another portion of it that helps with the product. So therefore, breakage from the outside, it helps refrain, keep everything in place just in case that were to happen, but also acts as a graffiti layer for where if somebody were to damage, do something to that, we can easily come out over the 10-year warranty period, replace that layer while we're still protecting the product that you paid the money for, which is the interior portion of it. And by doing all of this, we are being able to create a massive time resistance in terms of break-ins, because as we look at it from a law enforcement perspective, it's crimes of opportunity. It's what is the ease of something for somebody to make an approach. That glass should be pretty susceptible, so therefore that may be the first approach to attack, to get to a door lever or a crash bar, to where our product, whether it's compromised from a bullet, from a bat, from a crowbar, it will maintain and hold its resistance, therefore resetting that biocomputer, starting the OODA loop effect to where that suspect or person, the bad actor, now realizes that that plan didn't work. Maybe they then try a secondary approach, but it is all about the time resistance and what our product is creating to allow law enforcement to actively arrive on scene and obviously help contain the situation. I hope that answered the question, but it was quite a bit. But.
Great, thank you, Bo. So as you described, the application process is unique as well, right? This is not just simply slapping some film on and providing it. They come in, they will basically apply it to the inside. They have to caulk this item in to ensure that, otherwise you're basically just going to get one piece of glass that falls out. So the application process is pretty involved as well. So the cost associated with this is not just necessarily the purchasing the film and then we can go out and do it. There's some expertise associated with that to ensure that this product is applied properly. We kind of already spoke about this, so I'll kind of skip over that. Some of the schools impacted. So when we kind of started looking around TUSD and really we started looking at the threats associated with it. This is a fantastic product that we'd love to carry throughout all of our district, but what we're going to do focus on first is our elementary schools. And the why behind that is because of looking at historical threats. Most of the threats associated with elementary schools come from the outside, and we've seen that within our own district as well. Unfortunately, many of the threats or active situations that were very unfortunate at high schools usually occur from the inside. So that individual is already within the campus because it's already a student. So that is why our approach right now, at least initially, is just the elementary schools, and we want to get those done. So this is the ask. You want me to go ahead and go with this, Dr. Carter, as well? Yeah. This is the ask. The riot-resistant security laminate is about $65 a square foot. It is not cheap, but it is a very unique product, and again, I'll show you the video to kind of explain that and why me in school safety as the director and in discussions with our leadership within TUSD feel this is such an important product for us to implement across our district. And then according with that, obviously, is that caulking that has to be done associated with it. So the staff would, and I'm just going to go ahead and read this, would like the committee to consider recommending to the governing board the approval of the contract and proposal with Safe Haven for the installation of the window security film at Tucson Unified School District campuses. And this again is our elementary schools as well as our early learning centers, Brickta and Shoemaker. And this is the demonstration. Yolanda, can you help me with this part?
Yolanda, this is Luis. Can you share that screen for us? We're not able to see that screen.
We're actually having trouble sharing the screen. We can send it to you, Mr. Gonzalez, through email, so that way you'll be able to see it that way.
All right, thank you.
The video is important, so we are going to wait. So this is Bo, who you just heard from. Not a small guy. And this is an actual demonstration they provided for us at our the range we utilized for school safety.
I actually tried to break it. Sorry. Get one more good one in there. Damn. Who wants to beat on it with a bat? Yeah, who wants to throw a rock? I think some of you guys need.
And then I needed to step up and embarrass myself. So.
But you want me to do rock? Rock, and then you got bat.
So while we're waiting, I have a question. Is this film bulletproof, or does it shatter the window, or what?
Yeah, the video is almost over. We're going to open it up to just a minute and just a second for questions, but that'll be the first one. So if you wouldn't mind hanging on just a second.
I feel like
So you can see there, I took an aluminum bat and I banged on it 3 or 4 times with really everything I had, and it felt like hitting concrete. So an impressive product. And with that, I think now, and I'm sorry, sir, if I think you're online. If you wouldn't mind re-asking your question, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Was that Mr. Gonzalez?
Mr. Gonzalez, go ahead.
That's correct. I was wondering whether that film that you apply, is that bulletproof, or does it shatter a window, or what's the effect if someone tries to shoot through it, or to hit a bat through it, or whatever?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, it doesn't sound like you were able to see, but in the video, I was actually taking an aluminum bat and hitting the product. It does shatter at the point of impact, but it does not compromise a window, i.e., I would not be able to get through that window. And I hit it 3 or 4 times. I'm 6'3", 205 pounds, and I was hardly able to make a dent other than shattering the actual glass. The film was able to stay intact. As far as the bulletproof, no, this product that we're going to be installing is not bulletproof. So bullets will go through it. In those situations I spoke about earlier, whether it be Sandy Hook or in Nashville, Tennessee, the individuals shot through the glass, which compromised it, allowed it to shatter, and then were able to walk through. So while bullets will still go through it, they're not going to be able to move through. At the same time, I can tell you, and just from my experience in law enforcement, like Bo, shooting through glass is challenging in that you see some significant changes to the bullet's trajectory once it actually passes through that glass. Plus, because of the shattering of the glass, it makes it very challenging to see through afterwards.
Okay, that was going to be my second. That was going to be my second question, as to whether or not a bullet would change trajectory once it got through the window. And I'm sorry, I can't see the video, so I missed all of that.
Yeah, and from what I understand, we'll send that to you. Yes, ma'am.
I do have another question, and maybe this is sort of for Greg's department as well. If the film is being applied to the inside of the window and we're on an elementary school campus and kids are kicking balls and hit a window which gets broken all the time, and that thin glass that we have already installed in our elementary schools breaks, how do we replace that? How is that resolved? How does the facilities team that TUSD already has employed, are they able to fix that with the film being installed on the inside, or is that something that we need to come back to this company and have it replaced then?
Kind of multiple parts of that. Okay. So we do have some thin glasses, as he spoke about earlier. That glass is actually going to be replaced prior to the installation of this material, and we already have our glass installers, which we have on staff, working on that. As they did their assessment and basically came up with the quote, they also assessed the glass and identified those areas that needed to be replaced. So we're actively working on that and getting that upgraded to to quarter-inch glass. In addition, the product that he spoke about on the exterior, the graffiti, will provide a little bit of a layer of protection as well to help prevent that. And it's, talking about baseballs and that kind of stuff, usually just like a softball. Glass is actually a little harder to break than most people think. But it does break. It does break.
Elementary kids are a little bit tougher
they're
than
rough
most
on
people
stuff.
think.
But I'll let Bo talk about what the 10-year warranty covers and what that'll look like.
Okay.
Yeah, so with that, one of the great things about this product actually is if the window is somehow compromised and or broken, you're not going to have to instantly call board up or anybody, because it's going to be still sealed. It will still be watertight. It will be, providing all the same benefits of even the, heat dispersion, which that's another environmental factor of the film, which is actually really good for us. But the warranty period, that would allow you to really set the glass placement and allow us to come back out and schedule that within that same time frame, if that's the way you wanted to look at it. So
that's why I just have concerns about optics for timelines of having broken windows at elementary schools. I don't think, no matter, your product is clear, right?
100%.
So that's the thing. It's though we all know that it's there, parents or passerbyers or people visiting sites don't necessarily know that it's there, and they're going to see a broken window that might not be shattered, right? It's still intact, but it's still broken. And so just timeline for replacement for that, I think, is important, just as, because the perception of safety, whether we know it's there or not.
Yeah, real quick, and I'll turn that over to him, who can probably partially answer it as well. But I will tell you, Greg and his team, again, we have the glass people, and so we will have that glass ready to go.
Okay.
We're very fortunate in that this product, because it's so unique, is also located within Arizona. I mean, they're an hour and a half up the road.
Right.
So as far as turnaround time, I'm not too concerned about that. And I'm a big believer in the broken windows theory, right? Whereas if you just let stuff go, people aren't going to treat it as well.
Right.
So that's really important to us, which was just icing on the cake when we found out that Safe Haven was actually located in the Phoenix area. Did you want to speak to something more to that?
Yeah, I think you basically hit the nail on the head. We are located very close, so getting that installation scheduled, there's usually not too much of a delay locally. In addition, the time to reinstall and reapply, if there is a single broken window, I mean, that can be done within a few hours. It's a pretty quick process, so it really shouldn't be too much of a delay if that does happen.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question for our TUSD team. What is the plan after the 10-year warranty? Like, what happens after the warranty expires? These films just no good after 10 years, or what? Are we going to replace them?
Yeah, it's just like, and maybe Greg can answer this. He's got a little bit more background in that kind of stuff and deal with warranties. But, it's just like anything else, right? Just because the 10-year warranty is up doesn't mean the product won't work anymore. It'll still be a solid product. Just anything after that, if there is a compromise, if there is an issue, we will have to pay to have that individual replaced. There you go.
So we'll still be maintaining
yeah.
them even after the 10-year.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the EV you mentioned, or the EV and the infrared from the heat, you said that it's going to add some protection for that, so you would assume that would reduce energy use. Is that what you're intimating by this claim?
Yes. So
now, before I finish, I'm almost done. Because one thing I'd like to know is if that's the case, has there been, I know this is a big ask, and I'm not asking for this specifically, but is there a cost-benefit analysis on, you keep the typical glass, how much do you spend per year on AC, you add the film to it, how much is saved by adding the film, so therefore the cost is $1 million, whatever it is here, and then we can save $300,000 on AC costs. I'm just throwing numbers out there, but I'd kind of like to know if there's you have a model to figure stuff out like that.
Well, and then I want to turn it over to Mr. Hernandez to kind of finish up your question, because I think he has a little bit more details. But just real quick on that, and this is important maybe, the scope of this is anything that's not behind a fence, right? So it's not going to be the entire campus. These are a smaller amount. We saw the cost per square foot, it's very significant. This is just somewhere the public can easily approach and get to, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be associated with the ball fields. Those are usually behind a fence already. So we're looking at, again, that layered approach. These are those entryways where the public can easily approach. So the amount of the footprint or the square footage of glass compared to the rest of the campus is going to be pretty insignificant. But Mr. Hernandez, did you want to answer something?
So two things. So Jeffrey, one of the components that we also have to consider is the fact that there are variables that go beyond the scope of school safety, right? So we're installing new HVAC units that are going to be more efficient already. Mm-hmm. So we know that the energy consumption of those units is already going to cause our consumption of energy to come down. One. Two, with Ms. Carter's question, I mean, the point of what they're attempting to do along with the entire bond program, if you recall, is for us to be able to develop a more robust preventative maintenance plan, right? That allows us to allocate the resources that we do have to address situations like a shattered window that may happen in the 12th year of, Van Buskirk Elementary School, where something may happen. So there is a preventative maintenance plan that we have, and we make, at least from a funding perspective, I know from an operations perspective, those become a priority for our schools because of, if you see an open window, you see an opportunity for break-in, right? So we want to address those as often as possible, as quickly as we can. I do know from speaking with them, Sahuarita Unified School District in Southern Arizona is one school district that has implemented this already. And they're obviously like another 25 miles from here. So this has become part of their safety protocol in a more rural part of the community. So addressing these pieces is something that I know that we have to account for as we build out more projects.
Thank you.
I thought you had a question.
I just want to make a comment. So yeah, in regard to the broken windows, what we do is this. A lot of this happens at night, obviously. So what happens is our officers are patrolling, and if they run onto a window that's broken, they'll call in, and then what happens is if they can't board it up themselves, because a lot of times they can, they call our facility department, and we'll go out the same night and board up the window so that it's not, the school isn't exposed or compromised in some way. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that that's how we respond to the broken window thing. So,
Thank you.
okay.
All right, so I just got a request. If there's any more questions, we're going to ask that they kind of be submitted in writing, given to Yolanda, and then they'll be given to Dr. Carter, who can answer them. But in the spirit of everybody's time, we have some other presentations we want to get through right now. Is that okay? All right, thank you. And thank you, gentlemen, for again coming.
No, it said 51. Was that all the schools?
Dr. Carter, am I staying here for security fencing, or? Oh, okay.
It just says right here, 51 schools.
Are we moving on?
Okay, so this is a study action item. This allows you the ability to either vote today to make a recommendation to the full governing board to take into consideration essentially what's been presented here. They will be presented. It's also, as a study item, it gives you the ability to just take in the information and not make a decision. Our recommendation is, the staff's recommendation is to make a motion to accept and recommend this to the full governing board for their approval at their next board meeting. Until we get their approval, the project doesn't move forward. So basically it's back.
Will it be presented at their next meeting if voted on and approved today, or?
Do we have it calendared for the 29th, or are we calendared for the following one? Yeah, it would be the first meeting in November, most likely. If you decide to make this yeah.
So how do we go about it now? Do we take a vote of who wants to vote, or?
If you want to, you can
Just show
discuss
of
it
hands.
amongst yourselves to decide if there's a feeling that you want to have a motion. Otherwise,
Well, so, Madam Chair, if I may, since we haven't had a chance to ask questions completely, I don't feel that it's appropriate to take a vote at this point. If we were just asked to submit additional questions in writing, that would happen afterward, and we haven't had a chance to voice all of our questions and information.
Okay, so then we'll just hold off on, when you're asking for a vote, November, correct? Is that when?
Either be November or December. Again, you remember that plan I gave you when we're not doing subsidies? Give you 2 months.
Right, we also need to keep in mind, we won't be meeting in December. So we also don't want to bring these projects.
Did you say we will be or we won't be?
I'm sorry, we will.
We won't be meeting
Won't
in
be.
December.
No.
Okay.
Yolanda.
Rick, do you have a time element in this project?
We've had requests for security upgrades and more robust components to start being implemented. Other than the AEDs and some fencing, we haven't really started the security component of the bond program in earnest. This is obviously one component that we'd like to move forward, but ultimately, to Mr. Norquist's comment, it's whatever the consensus of the committee is that if we hold it today, we'll bring it back in November, so that gives us an opportunity to take it to the board in December. So, that's kind of how the timetable works, is we want to make sure that we're giving you enough time to consider as you feel like the need. So if that's kind of the feeling right now.
Okay, so the board will meet in December?
The governing board does meet in December. You don't meet in December.
Right.
I have a question.
But you can vote on it in November. We can bring this back as a study action or as a full action item in November.
And if you want it to be December,
Okay, well, it sounds like there are some members who would like to ask some additional questions before making a decision. So I would agree that perhaps we need to wait.
Yeah, so
I
we
had
can
a
just go ahead.
question.
Ms. Barboa, did you have something you wanted to?
No, well, Ricky kind of pointed, because
You
I just
covered
wanted
it?
to make point that the board meets in November on the 19th, so it would be a couple of days before your meeting, so.
So potentially this could come on in their November meeting, because you all meet ahead of the second.
No, they
board
meet after.
They meet after.
They meet after
Okay.
the board meeting.
Okay, so then it would be the December board meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Are we trying to vote on it because this is something for quarter 3, or are we thinking quarter 4?
This is for quarter 3, I believe.
Yes. So remember, the intent is we can do quarter 3 or we can do quarter 4. It doesn't
Okay.
matter to us. Of course, we want to start our projects earlier than later, but the idea was to give all of October, all of November, if you needed it, and then a vote in December, because I know you guys originally wasn't going to meet in December, but if maybe we could do something virtual. If not, it'll be January. So it's still following the pattern of giving you enough time. So now it does help them as far as being able to make sure supply chain. So I do want to just remind you guys that supply chain is real. So the longer we wait, but again, we're giving you the time.
If I can add something, I'm glad you answered that, because my concern was that we put it on the table and then it gets on a back burner and it never gets done. The other comment I want to make too, my understanding is if the glass that we're doing this to is out of date, then we replace that glass in addition to the film.
Right, so the glass replacement is already
It's still
happening.
going to be a good upgrade, even getting the better glass to do that. I just want to throw that out there as well.
Just so as an aside, the glass has already been ordered, it will be upgraded, will be cut and installed by our glass folks internally. So that is happening outside of the bond. It is not being funded by bond money. We're using different sources of funding because that has to happen, right? We need to have the glass meet the requirements of the vendor so that the vendor can do the film installation.
Okay. So, Yolanda, the board won't be meeting in December either?
Yeah, they have one meeting in November and one meeting in December.
So if we vote in our November meeting, it can still be brought to them?
Yeah, it can be taken to
December.
the December 10th meeting.
Is there a reason why we're not meeting in December?
That was just the recommendation. Most committees don't meet in 1 month in the summer and 1 in December. But if needed, as Dr. C, if we need to either make a Zoom.
Yeah,
an
that
emergency
third week of December is the last week of the semester.
Winter break. yeah.
So, thank you. Okay.
So for now, I think we're just going to, members are.
We'll table
wanna
it to
wait. Is
November?
that correct? Is that what
Yeah, as long as we can get it on so we can vote on it in November, so we can move forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we'll be voting
Yeah,
in
and
November on
then
that.
please submit your questions so that we can make sure that we're prepared to answer them at your November committee meeting. Okay, thank you.
So we'll move on to item 6.02, review and approve to recommend to the governing board the purchase of school safety vehicles. Dr. Carter? Or, I'm not sure who's.
Okay, for the next presentation, we have the fleet manager and Kenny, or I don't think, Kenneth Bowe, if you can come and give us a presentation.
Hi, everybody. I'm the guy that comes up here and asks for cars. How are we doing? There's a lot of vehicles funded in the bond. So going along with the safety prioritization, that's why I came before you about safety vehicles. Let's go to the background. Joe covered a lot of this already. We covered 250 square miles, 88 schools. Joe's service, or school safety service, is 24 hours a day, 365. They're always on duty. They travel in the city, and you all recognize the challenge between roads, stoplights, no beltway, et cetera. You all know what it takes to get here, or to any of those schools. They also go to Phoenix for training or other parts of the state for meetings and such. The safety fleet is comprised of 28 vehicles, and we vary in age in that fleet alone from 2005 to 2024. I just looked it up during the meeting. There's four vehicles in the fleet right now in excess of 200,000 miles. The need or the ask here is to replace 24 of the aging vehicles that I just talked about. And the outcome of those purchase would enhance operational efficiency, reliability. That fleet goes about 250,000 miles a year. Some of their vehicles are in excess of 25,000 miles a year, some of their vehicles. The repairs, I would say we're averaging almost $30,000 a year just in that fleet of vehicles. So going to some things you pointed out, there's a cost reduction there with this purchase. The improved performance for that fleet, they increased their manpower. They increased staff about 3 years ago by about 5 staff members. And with that, through budget, we didn't increase the size of the fleet. So what we have effectively done is taken their spare ratio, their spare fleet, so they could turn one in, have it repaired, and do that. We assigned all those vehicles. So the spare ratio is not there for them. Obviously, we could decrease vehicle downtime, lower maintenance expenses, improve availability for their staff. That's what we have, Ford Explorers. Why did we pick Ford Explorers? We already have those in staff or in service, and they're working very well for Joe's department, for school safety, I'm sorry. Sometimes we get asked why we pick a vehicle of that size, and I'll go back to all the potholes we hit in the road. It's 24/7. They occasionally go down an alley, over a curb, for whatever reason. Why are they 4 doors? Occasionally they may need to take a staff member or a student home, or they may have passengers. The increased size provides a little more safety for our staff. They are on the road. They are for safety because they're on the road. Cost, the cost, what's that going to cost us? So we're projecting the cost at $1.4 million for 24 vehicles. Those vehicles are fully outfitted. They'll come with some light bars, the wraps for light badging, come with a maintenance plan. They're, again, reducing service time and the such. What's our ask? Staff would like the committee to consider recommending this to the governing board for the approval of the purchase of 24 vehicles for school safety. Questions?
No, but I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
Being an administrator that deals with safety and security a lot at schools, I've been in high school and middle school, the response time is paramount. They're already understaffed, and they do the best they can, and we just can't afford to have downtime with vehicles. The other thing is perception, and as parents and people drive by a school, it is very, very nice to see a really well-kept, good-looking vehicle supporting our school safety guys, and not a 10, 12-year-old vehicle that has dents and dings in it. No offense to transportation. It's just reality. So I think this is by far a legitimate reason. I have no problem going to a vote on this.
I was just curious, what happens with the older vehicles?
Yeah. Great question. We're going to, some of them have a very low value. We're hoping to take as the fleet that we replace at a group and actually turn that into a possible lease for other departments like facilities or that. So
got an idea.
I would like to see, shouldn't say this, those super old ones that have more than 200,000 miles on them, maybe donated to our automotive programs at our high schools.
They actually exceed the age. So I can do this without looking
Too old.
at him. He's going to come up here. He needs vehicles 2010 model and newer.
And newer.
And the ones that we're talking about that are 06 to 08s. That's how old they are. But we are working on
We
getting.
still have the old stuff in the automotive houses.
I think we're going to see a presentation on that. We're going to see a presentation on that. And the only thing that not mentioned in there, didn't ask, one of the reasons I will be here to ask all these projects. Bus project takes 18 months. The diesel buses, let's just do this. The diesel buses that we talked about in August might not be here in May. That's a project. Vehicle supply chain issues apply here too. This is, if I had to say this today, I'm hoping to get it in 12 months. And if I make it in 9 months, I'm happy. But it's not, I know you all see vehicles on lots as you drive by, but there isn't 24 Ford Explorers anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just a comment on that, and it applies for every one of these presentations.
So again, this is another study action item. I think, personally, I'm ready. I know Mr. Norquist has a question, but I feel like the rest of us might be ready to vote on this after Mr. Norquist asks his
Sure,
question.
and I'm ready as well. I just have a couple of hopefully quick questions
Go ahead.
that are informational. For my benefit and hopefully for maybe everyone else's, I'm just curious, what are the full set of, the full range of uses for these vehicles on campus? I know there's security vehicles. What did they actually get used for?
So, and Joe will stop me if I get it. You want to do it? Or we have security officers that deal with security issues at schools. They get called and they have a security issue at that school.
Mm-hmm.
That happens. We have staff that deals with transportation. So in the event of an accident by any TUSD vehicle, they help respond and they're a liaison on the district's behalf. So we have that. We have security managers and staff that go to schools and train. So they train staff, that stuff. We have supervisors that supervise all that's going on, and they respond as well.
Okay.
They do all
And
right.
in terms of security, what did they do more specifically in terms of responding to a criminal event? Or a dangerous event, however you want to characterize it.
Yeah, so, it's kind of like I said earlier, our motivation is to keep kids safe and keep the school safe. Now, our jurisdiction, as it would be, we're not police officers.
Right,
we don't
right.
patrol the regular streets. Our responsibility is the campuses and what's inside of them. So many of our calls are calls for service, whether it be, suspicious individuals, school fights, individual kids that are just having a bad day and acting up or something like that. So, we respond to a significant number of calls across the district, and we're a 24/7 operation. So our vehicles are always running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We have more staff during the day, obviously, when kids are in schools. But at night, I may be down to 1 or 2 staff to cover the entire district, and they're usually responding to alarm calls in the middle of the night, burglary or fire alarm calls, trespassings, those kind of things, or calls for service from other agencies. We also get calls for service from facilities to kind of go help check things out if they're getting some kind of alert in the middle of the night.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you, Mr. Hallam. Delia beat me to my next question, which was what happens to the old vehicles, so thank you for asking that. And then finally, I think you've made a good case for why these need to be replaced. So this is just out of curiosity. Do you know what the ballpark figure is on mileage for the vehicles that need to be replaced?
I have 11 of them in excess of 100,000 miles.
Right, okay.
And 3 of them in excess of 200,000 miles. So that's 14 of them. As I discussed, we have an increase of 4 that we've never gotten to.
Right.
And we totaled one 2 years ago. We didn't replace that one as well. So, and to cover this is not to increase or change anything of the mission of school safety.
Yeah.
This is to support the operation that's happening right now while we're in this meeting. So it's what we're already doing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for the information. So I think we're ready to go ahead and vote. Ms. Hernandez, Ms. Barbara, would you mind doing a roll call vote, please?
Did you take a motion already?
I'll forward a motion to approve the recommend
Oh,
governing
yes.
board purchase of school safety vehicles.
I second.
Thank you.
Who's second?
Mr. Jeffries.
Okay. Jeffrey Anthony?
Yes.
Catherine Arvizu?
Yes.
Cindy Coleman,
Yes.
Luis Gonzalez,
Aye.
Red Morrow,
Yes.
Raghu Nandan,
Yes.
Peter Norquist,
Yes.
Tiffany Rogers,
Yes.
Delio Sotelo,
Yes.
Erica Miranda Carter.
Yes. Motion passes to recommend to the governing board the purchase of school safety vehicles.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.03, review and approve to recommend to the governing board upgrades for the career and technical education automotive programs at Choya High School and Tucson High Magnet School. Dr. Carter.
Thank you. We have another person that's going to be doing a presentation. We have Chuck McCollum over the CTE program.
Let me get ready here. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chuck McCollum. I'm the program manager for career and technical education in TUSD. My 16th year as program manager overall. I've had 31 years in the district. I only think Mr. Morrow in the building has probably had more than I do. But I'm here today to talk to you about some upgrades to our automotive programs at Tucson and Choya High Schools. A little bit about career and technical education. The district currently has 59 programs. We service 7,200 students and I believe we have 13,000, a little over 13,000 high school students, and 7,000 of them are in CTE programs right now. The impact is incredible, leading kids towards career pathways, whether it be post-secondary, could be the military, could be direct employment, but it's giving kids a great idea of where they need to go at a young age before they commit to something. Automotive at Choya and Tucson High currently serve 300 students between them. We just spoke, Dr. Carter and I, to the instructor, Willie Corrales at Tucson High. He has over 175 kids in 6 periods at Tucson High School. He also made a good point that the tire machine, he's been there 15 years, and the tire machine was there before him. So it's time for us to start to get, we just got to modify. We got to bring things up to where the standard is right now in the automotive industry. And our industrial programs are quite expensive, okay? So we're here today to talk about the possibility of moving forward and bringing these 2 programs up to standard level, okay? Slide 1, if I can get it there. We'll look at the background, the need, the equipment updates, the cost, and we will go from there. And I will try to be a little quicker than the last 2, okay? No offense. But the need, let me see if I went to the right one. Yep. The need for the background. We need to enhance our practical learning experiences. Remember, when you're doing automotive, whether you're going to go into the automotive field or say you're going to go into engineering, you need to touch what you're doing. You need to learn practically. Okay, so that means we have to have the equipment in the room for students to be able to do that. We need to make sure that our equipment meets industry standard. Okay, it does us no good to instruct a student and then have them move into industry, whatever automotive dealership they move to, and they look and it's foreign to them. Okay, so we need to upgrade what we're doing instructionally with our kids. This will help us build stronger partnerships with our local automotive businesses, and I have met with our local, I just met with Daryl Koppel of Jim Click Ford over the break, and we discussed where we need to have our kids by the time they're out, they're graduating from high school. It'll also help kids with their certifications. The state of Arizona mandates that we offer industry certifications no matter what the CTE program. Okay, in automotive, it's called the Automotive Service Excellence Certificate, which a lot of people know as ASE. Okay? Our kids have the ability, they do not pay for it, it's filtered into our budget or built into our budget, to take up to 9. They get those 9 certifications. That's pretty good for your resume when you start walking out the door at age 18. So this equipment will help us get them to that stage, okay? The need, rapidly evolving automotive industry demands, we gotta have up-to-date skills. To provide the up-to-date skills, we need the technology to be able to have that in our kids' classes for our instructors to use, okay? It will align with our industry standards from the state of Arizona, okay? And the expectations that we have from ADE, okay? It will prepare students for future advancements, all right? It's a competitive world out there. So when our kids, and I hate to say it, but I want my auto kids at TUSD to get the job over the Sunnyside kid. So we got to teach our kids how to do it right, get them out there, get them competitive. And that's, hey, you got to get better, and we need to get better. So here's our upgrades, okay? We're looking at certain equipment, and I kind of broke this up. So equipment is something like a tire machine, okay? Or an alignment machine. Snap-on scanners. This is why Kenny and I talked the other day about 2010. 2006, we can't use a scanner, okay? So when we look at a 2010 and above, we can use the scanners we're planning on purchasing to teach the kids that skill, okay? And as I learned from an instructor, there's a difference between the little, what did we talk about, the little modular car that'll fit in the bay as opposed to a pickup. So now we got to think about, oh, we need this and we need this, okay? On the bottom, you'll see instructional trainers, okay? These are devices that we can bring in to teach, say, disc and drum braking systems. We don't have to tear a car apart. Right now, we dismantle a car, take the brakes off, screw them into a table, and that's what the kids see, okay? It's not modern. I'm going to tell you straight up. It's not a disc brake that is on your car because we took it off a 2006 car that security just gave us, okay? And it's just not, it's not good. So these systems here are versatile, they're sustainable, they're manageable, and I'll show you the price, but in my world, they're affordable, okay, to be quite honest with you, okay? We can use it with a freshman to do a demonstration, but also put some errors in it so a fourth-year student has to learn to fix it, okay? Our current tools, they do not reflect real-world workplace equipment right now. They just do not, and we have to get to that point. When we go a little further down, here's your costs, okay? And looking at Tucson High and Cholla, okay? Now, I do have to tell you honestly, we have 5 automotive programs, 1 collision repair, and 1 diesel engine. So we have 7 total in the automotive industry. Bringing Cholla and Tucson High up to par will allow us to then strategically work on the other programs. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? We got to get the big boys up and running where we have 300-400 kids, okay? And that'll allow us to then not sweat it. Plus we have, you know, that photo program wants their cameras too. So we need to be able to work in a strategic manner. So when you look at a gas engine trainer, you're looking at, we want 2, 1 for Cholla, 1 for Tucson High. You're looking at about $123,000 total. You've seen this. You can see the prices right now. So basically, when we look at all of the instructional trainers, we're approximately looking, and this does include tax and freight, okay, which is huge, all right, when you talk about heavy equipment like this, at $445,584. Okay, I'm sure, Diana, we're going to have to do an RFP on this. Yep, she's shaking her head already. Okay, but that's going to take a little bit of time. All right, so we're looking at 445,584 there. And then for our industrial equipment, I call it, we're looking at about 61,139. You can see where that's going also. The tire machine that is 400 years old is at Tucson High. And you can see that Troy is getting some, Tucson High is getting some. That equipment is more moderate. We're looking at about $61,139. But what we're asking the bond for totally, which also includes tax and freight, $506,722. Let me see what's next. So what we would, well, do I do questions? Or is that now or before I ask this? Want to do questions?
Well, I have a question. Sir, I understand, and I think what you're explaining to us here sounds to me like it's pretty critical because the industry keeps changing so much and the technology keeps growing by leaps and bounds. But I'm wondering whether or not you have thought about doing some dual enrollment with Pima Community College with their automatic center of excellence.
That's a great question. And yes, we can. If our instructors qualify, you got to qualify to be a teacher. So you're a CTE teacher, but then you got to qualify to be a Pima Community College teacher. We do have the option of 3 classes in our automotive that can work towards the associate's degree or certificate program at Pima Community College. So we are working in that way. Again, it all is dictated by who actually is the instructor, okay, and who we can find to teach. But yes, we do.
Well, that's a good thing. I know that the college over there is also very well connected with your different dealerships in town. They work very closely together. So I think dual enrollment is one way to go. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to hear that you're looking at that, or at least beginning to do that, and start recruiting these instructors which are certified.
Yes, we do. And one other point I'd like to make before I do this, we participate in a program with Pima Community College not Community College, Pima County, called the SIR program. The SIR program is where they pay the salary of students to get 120-hour, sometimes 300-hour internships with a dealership, okay? That is a competition. I mean, it's going to happen November 15th. We're going to take our kids down as everybody else is, and they're going to interview with different automotive companies, okay? By putting these things in place, again, we need our students, and I do take this stuff personally, we do need our students to be able to walk in there and get that internship, okay? To get that ability to work at whatever dealership, Chapman Honda, Chapman Acura, whatever, and then be offered a position there, okay? You're talking $45 an hour, folks, okay? And a lot of our kids, they take the dealerships up on those offers. So this equipment will help us prepare those kids instructionally and practically to be able to walk into those situations and compete, okay? So, with that being said, is there any more questions?
No, but I want to, Chuck, if I want to reinforce what you're saying about the dealership, because when I was at Rincon High School as assistant principal there, we had a kid that won, and he got a full ride to diesel mechanic school through Jim Click.
Right. So
it is very great program. So it does wonderful things.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
I'll just add one comment as well. I think this is exactly why we have this bond. It's for programs like this. This is the type of thing that draws students to our district. My daughter is in her 2nd year of automotive program at Tucson High, so I'm well versed in what they don't have there. And so I think that this is you have my full support, and I think this is something that is exactly why this bond was passed.
Right. I think it's important to understand career and technical education. You could, like you said, the automotive program at Tucson High is tremendous, but so is the welding program at Cholla. Okay, so is the medical program at whatever high school we have it, because we don't do anything that's shoddy. Okay, so the bottom line is we're impacting kids' lives in career and technical education. So what I'm asking is if the committee would consider recommending to the governing board the upgrades for the career and technical education automotive programs at Cholla High School and Tucson High Magnet School.
May I make one final comment?
Sure.
I just want to echo what was said by my two colleagues here. I think this program is of great value, and I just wanted to underscore that by saying I've spoken to several people in the last year in the community who give me the impression that we're very top-heavy right now in terms of people who have white-collar skills, and there's an extreme need for people who are able to do hands-on skills. And I was on a tour at TEP a couple of weeks ago, and they told me there's an extreme need for people doing welding, machining, and so on. I think this is going to be even more important going into the future, so I really appreciate the fact that you are overseeing this program, and I hope it works out well for all of the students who are under you.
Excellent, thank you. And this will not be the last time you've seen it.
So
Could I make a statement?
So I'm just going to make a comment real quick, and then you can speak. So I'm going to vote for this, but I want to make it clear that we're here to protect bond dollars, and on the other side of this equation are all these dealerships, right? So they're going to be getting highly trained students, which is fantastic. But what happens is that they don't have to spend to train the kids, right? So what I would love to see going forward is more partnerships with the dealerships. Why aren't they saying, hey, you know what? You're going to get 500 grand. We're going to chip in 100 grand so you can up it, because we're getting a better benefit because of this. Do you see where I'm going with this?
I do see where you're going, and those points have been brought to industry. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say that they don't ask us what's in it for us. Okay, I deal with industry almost every day. I would like to see industry jump in, especially in this area of the industrial fields, because it is a highly expensive programs for us to maintain. But I can only go so far. I can only say certain things and ask for certain things from our industry partners, because I don't want to ruin what rapport I have. So when the opportunity arises, we jump on it. Okay. But until that time, I got to just be cautious about what we do, and that we don't put things we already have in jeopardy. Okay.
Okay, so I agree with Mr. Anthony here with what he stated, and I
thought Cindy wanted to make a statement.
Oh, it's someone else.
Ms. Coleman had a comment too.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes. Chuck, this is really great, and I really support it. If you had a third package, okay, not the Cholla, not the Tucson High, but if you had a third package, where would you put it? Which high school would that go to? Because it sounds like something that could be a widespread need for us to address down the road, maybe.
Okay, I would probably look at this point at, and this, some principal's going to swap me if I don't say their school.
I know.
I would probably look at Pueblo High School.
Okay.
Right now. Okay. I think there's some upgrades there. We have put some funding into Saguaro and into Rincon High Schools at this point from our general budget, from CTE budget. So I'm comfortable with those two schools. Pueblo would be the next that we would identify. So if I could change this number.
No. I appreciate that's exactly what I want. That's exactly the answer I wanted. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. So I think we all agree that these are fantastic programs, and I feel we are all ready to take a vote on this. So I motion that we approve to recommend to the governing board, well, that we vote to approve to recommend to the governing board upgrades for the career and technical education automotive programs at Cholla and Tucson High. So Ms. Barboa, Ms. Hernandez, can we do a roll call vote? Oh,
I'll
actually,
second.
A second by Ms. Arvizu. I always get ahead of myself. I apologize.
Okay,
So we
Jeffrey
can do a roll
Anthony?
call.
Yes.
Catherine Arvizu?
Yes.
Cindy Coleman?
Yes.
Luis Gonzalez?
Yes, absolutely.
Red Moro?
Yes.
Raghu Nandan?
Yes.
Peter Norquist?
Yes.
Tiffany Rogers?
Yes.
Deldio Sotelo?
As a CT student myself, absolutely yes.
Erica Miranda Carter?
Yes. Yay. Motion passes to recommend this item to the governing board. Yay.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you. We appreciate you.
Our students appreciate it.
So moving on to item 6.04, review of bond proposal for security gates and fencing. Dr. Carter.
Yes, thank you. We have one more quick presentation. It's going to be our safety director, and it's going to be security gates and fencing.
Hi, when this comes up, we've already kind of discussed a lot of this, so this should be fairly quick, and I think everybody understands the need for improved safety and security fencing.
Yes.
Just wait for it. All right, hello again. Again, we'll be talking about the need, the impacted schools, and the subsequent costs. Kind of went over this, why it's necessary, that whole layered approach that we discussed earlier. What else does it do, right? It kind of limits access for access to our schools. Plus, it kind of keeps things that are kids contained within our schools sometimes as well. We have many fences across our district that are literally knee height, whether it be washed out or just issues over time. So definitely a need for this across the district. There's the psychological safety, which again is so important. People can't learn if they don't feel safe. So the question often comes up, what's the difference in the fencing, right? You go across the district, you have a couple different types. So you have the wrought iron fencing and you have the chain link fencing. The wrought iron fencing is, in my opinion and many people's opinion, much more attractive. It's more robust. It's kind of gives them a little bit more of a psychological effect of more secure. Unfortunately, it's far more expensive. So as we've kind of done our assessments across the district, we've tried to identify the individual schools and seeing where do they need the various fencing and what locations. Where can we use wrought iron? Where can we use chain link? And this is a case-by-case basis on the individual schools. Although high schools are all wrought iron on their perimeter fencing. Chain link, also does the job, helps slow people down from gaining access to the schools or keeping kids within. But it's not necessarily as attractive, right? And just not as necessarily as robust. So what we're looking at these locations is not necessarily at the front of the school, but more in the back areas, along commercial areas, those kind of stuff to kind of help reinforce or support the rest of the fencing structure around our campuses. So for Q2, we're looking at these schools, and again, we went through that whole TVA process that I talked about earlier. We identified the schools that were most at need. And for Q2, and we built a list of overall around 32 schools that we wanted to bring you guys in the first couple quarters. Hopefully most, if not all of our, campuses will be touched at some point because almost all of them need improved fencing around them. But these are definitely the most at need, these 6 here: Ford Elementary, Kellon, Miles, Project Moore, Sam Hughes, and Sabino High School. Many of these are very porous as they stand right now and obviously not as secure as we want them to be. Subsequent schools will be as listed. I won't read through them, but again, they're across the district in various regions. And this was based on our assessments and our most at need schools. Those are the ones we're bringing to you at first. Estimated costs varies by school. Again, it varies by how much fencing we may need. Varies by what type of fencing we'll be implementing at what various areas. So we're looking at the individual schools, a cost between $150,000 and $225,000 per site. Any questions on fencing? Was that quick?
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr. Hallam,
Request.
thank you. I've got a couple. One specifically on fencing. So when I saw this on the agenda, I did my best to do my due diligence. I'm not a subject expert on this, but I was surprised by the fact that there are some mixed views on this, and it probably depends on what kind of fencing you're talking about. So I appreciate the fact that you already distinguish between wrought iron and chain link. One of the stories that I saw was about a girl, I think just a month ago in Georgia. I don't know if you've seen this or not, who actually impaled herself on a wrought iron fence. And I know that is something that can probably be mitigated by the design, but nevertheless, I thought it would be good to at least bring up that safety feature. Another question I have is, having attended several of the governing board meetings, I've heard a lot about fencing. I've heard some people really asking, almost begging for something to allow them to be more secure, because people have penetrated the perimeter of the school. Someone climbed in a window at one point, I think one of the people said at the call to the public. I'm also aware that some communities have actually had very adverse reactions because of the aesthetic effects. My understanding is primarily because they feel like it promotes sort of, like a prison-like environment type of feel. So I was wondering if I could get your comments on those two things. So first, the strict safety aspect, and then second, the community acceptance of these ideas.
And are you talking about the safety of the fence, meaning the individual as though was impaled? Is that what you wanted more specific?
Yes, relative to what you would be considering putting in. So again, I can't imagine anything happening with the chain link fence. I mean, you know more than I do, probably tell me if I'm wrong. But the wrought iron fences, those are the kind that seems like there could be potential safety issues with.
And there is, right? It's kind of an assumed risk, and I know we're dealing with children, but you're scaling a large fence, and we're looking at 7 to 8 foot fencing around the perimeters of our schools. There's going to be an inherent risk. Now, I will tell you on the wrought iron, it is more challenging to scale in that you only have the vertical bars, whereas chain link, you have something to kind of grab on. So that is much more challenging, especially for younger people to do that aspect of scaling. We have made some changes in how we do it, but there is going to be that chance that somebody can get caught up on the top rung, or that one of those individual rails of that security fencing.
Okay.
And the second part of your question is?
The second question I had is more broad, and this also involves the first topic we started with today that we'll apparently return to about the safety film. But I am just wondering what the process has been, because as far as I know, we've never been briefed on the overall assessment, the safety assessment process. So which schools have been assessed, how have they been assessed, to what degree, how holistic is the assessment, and what is the prioritization that has been recommended for the projects, if anyone has made such recommendation?
Yeah, it's a pretty broad question that we could really spend way too much time on.
Well, so let me try to.
But I will say, and I'll try to answer the best, kind of at a high level. Is like I discussed earlier. We sent. There's no way I could personally, or one or two of us, it would just be too time consuming with the footprint that Tucson Unified School District has. So I really relied on the professionals that we have within school safety, and we provided them additional training through to do specific threat of vulnerability assessments. Those were then submitted to our emergency managers, of which we have 2, which are very familiar with our district, who have additional training on that, who kind of assessed basically, where that prioritization lied. And we also looked at crime statistics, historical issues, and again, lack of fencing. When we're talking about those 5, it's just a significant lack of fencing around, and that's really how we developed that. Is there a touch of subjectivity according to it? Of course, right? We're talking about individuals developing a priority list. But that was based on a lot of information that we'd gathered from all those various resources.
Sure. Okay, so my last couple of comments about that, just to put in context, having been to those calls to the public and listened to different people talk about their concerns, I know there's some really pressing needs, like there are audio systems that don't function, intercom systems, lack of camera viability. I've heard people say that there are panic buttons that don't work in guard stations. And so I'm not against this topic in any way in and of itself, but my question is primarily about the priority of projects being put in based on
feedback that is subjective that I've heard from other people. And I guess I would finish by saying it would be nice if we were able to somehow get a briefing about the assessment and how the assessment is done and how many schools it's covered, like anything that you could give us.
Well, just to quickly answer the very last part of that, it's
Sure.
every school. We've done an assessment on every single school in our district. The other aspect of it, we're looking at a complete technological improvement across our district, and we're really trying to approach that intelligently. So as opposed to just kind of tackling, putting our finger to the wind and seeing which is the squeaky wheel of the day or whatever the case may be, we're really trying to step back and really do an overall architecture associated across our entire district to ensure consistency, understanding that school safety will be the central hub of that, with our dispatch center being able to monitor all of our cameras and all of our access control and all of our alarm panels 24/7.
Sure.
So with that, we're really making the investments to do things intelligently and appropriately, and utilizing the latest technology to ensure that, again, it's robust across the entire district as a whole.
Right. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I guess I would just say, because of the nature of our committee and what we're tasked with, I would like to see more details. And it doesn't mean that I don't believe you or trust what you're saying, but it would be nice to be able to just get some independent data on that.
Sure, we can provide you. Yeah, we actually provide our individual officers with a sheet, and we can provide you with those actual guide that we utilize.
Okay, and so you're saying you could circulate that?
Yeah, we can. I mean, it'll be a blank sheet. We're not going to identify individual schools, and that will be in our assessments, but we can give you what our guidance is when we kind of go out to do an assessment.
Right. Okay, that would be super. Thank you, Mr. Helen.
3 comments that I have more for you, Dr. Carter and probably our project manager. As you all are aware, I speak of Borton often because that's my neighborhood school. It's right across the street from me. I did advocate a few years ago for a fence around Borton. That was a big deal for us. We had an issue with the homeless jumping the fence, chain link fence there. That fence at that time was a priority for the district. We wanted to get it installed before the beginning of that school year. So there was a sense of urgency, and there was lack of communication from the fencing company. They went in one day and they removed that entire chain link fence. They never communicated to the principal or anyone on site. We did have a tortoise enclosure and several, gardening equipment out there that was just left. So I want to make sure that whatever fencing company is doing, and I know you follow up on all this, you're great about that. You and I have had conversations. But sometimes when there is a sense of urgency, these companies will go out there and like, oh, we got time now, let's go do this. I want to make sure that they are communicating to the schools. Another issue we saw with that fencing is, since it all has to be leveled, it was great, it was leveled nice and straight, but there were significant gaps under the fence where, of course, the ground is, and we had to go in there, go and point those out. Like that common sense would have told someone, we're putting a fence to keep people out, yet intruders could go under it. My last concern was, again, I felt like because this was rushed, they never properly sealed that fence. So if you look at that fence now, it looks like it's been there since the school first opened. Whereas to the older part of the fencing looks much newer. The newer fence is very rusted, and which takes us to the safety mat. That weakens. I'm not no expert in metal or any of that stuff, so I'm assuming it's easier for that wrought iron to break, causing injuries or. So I want to make sure that this is a pretty long list of fences that are going to be going up, and I'm all for the fences. But I want to make sure that we are having communication to the schools and following through that these are going to be, maintained. There's no holes here and there, and that they're not easily rusted. Like, that they're just kept up. That they're worth the money that we're paying for them. That's all. Thank you.
So, a couple things on the request that you have. Peter, if you could put that in the email so we can specifically make sure we're answering the right question and in the detail that you want.
Sure.
And there is, I don't know if you saw this, I know that they posted in here, it did have the factors to consider and security, and it also talked about the choosing the best fencing, some of our practices that we're already doing, so I don't know if you had a chance to look at that as well, so that can help. And then concerning, Erica, what you were saying, and that's just a practice I'm doing, period. Period, making sure that we have good specifications, making sure that we're working with the vendor, the principal, the school, the community, whoever we think those stakeholders are, making sure that there's clear communication. And we've already changed some of our practices on that as well. And then, as you know, it's the quality control. That's what makes the difference between an okay project and a great project, is that quality control. So we're having multiple checkpoints all along the way, and not just at the end. So yes, we are following that, and not just with this project, but with all the projects.
So is there any other questions? This is also a study action item. Do y'all feel we're ready to vote on this? Yes, so I will motion to vote that, I'm sorry, let me read this. To recommend to the governing board upgrades, bond proposal for security gates and fencing. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rogers. So Ms. Yolanda, Ms. Barbara, Ms. Hernandez, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Jeffrey Anthony,
Yes.
Catherine Arvizu,
Yes.
Cindy Coleman,
Yes.
Luis Gonzalez,
Aye.
Red Morrow,
Yes.
Raghu Nandan,
Yes.
Peter Norquist,
Abstain for the reasons mentioned earlier.
Tiffany Rogers,
Yes.
Delia Sotelo,
Yes.
Erica Miranda Carter.
Yes. Motion passes with one abstaining, Mr. Norquist. So moving on to item 6.05, establishment of bond oversight committee, working subcommittee. So at the last meeting, we brought to you all for discussion the possibility of forming a subcommittee after hearing from several of you and further conversation with counsel and legal counsel and Dr. Carter. We've determined that at this time, there's no urgency to form a subcommittee. We're functioning just fine as we are. Should the need arise in the future for us to form a subcommittee, then we can revisit at that time. If anybody disagrees with this decision, feel free to get in touch with me. We can discuss it and put it on the agenda at a future meeting. Any questions, comments? Alrighty then, moving on then to item 7.01, future meeting dates and agenda items. Our next meeting will be November 21st, Thursday, November 21st. We will be meeting at 1 o'clock, Ms. Rogers. And also, just a reminder, there will be a bond annual report at the board meeting October 29th. Dr. Carter will be presenting. We'd love to have you all join and represent the Bond Oversight Committee. Any other agenda items? No?
I'll just second like what Mr. Norquist said, to have the security
Presentation
with
Okay.
their screener, however that presented at the next one.
Okay, great. So I think we are ready to adjourn at 2:56. All in favor, say aye.
I need a motion in a second.
Any
sorry.
opposed?
Oh,
Abstain?
motion in a second.
Meeting adjourned at
No, you have to have a
2:57.
motion.
Oh, motion.
Well, someone just said that. I don't know if it's true or not, actually.
do.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I'll get my motions right. So somebody motioned, so I motioned. Is there a
I
second?
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second your motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Norquist, seconded by Ms. Arvizu. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. So we shall adjourn at 2:57. Thank you, everyone, and thank you that everyone came to do the presentations.